What if I told you Jason had a conscience? That he wasn't the mindless killing machine that we all know and love? Does Jason have sympathy? Does he have compassion? Does this bother you? Believe it or not, this doesn't really stray away from the Friday the 13th lore. Let me explain. Friday the 13th, How I Spent My Summer Vacation was a 2-issue comic release on 2007 by Wildstorm and DC Comics. It follows a young kid named Davey, who suffers a similar deformity, who spends his summer camp at Camp Crystal Lake, and Jason takes a liking to him. Now before you're like, what in the actual fuck? Hear me out on this. This actually makes sense and is told from Davey's point of view. This is actually a really nice comic. Issue 1 starts out by giving us a nice look into Pamela and Jason's early relationship on the day Jason drowned. It's just a 1-page quick reminder, but it's actually cool to see it actually illustrated. We jump 50 years into the present, where we see the classic trope of campers around the campfire telling the urban legend of Jason Voorhees. But this time they just completely roast Davey because of the way he looks. Bitch, who are you making fun of? They throw Davey into the water, and this is where the story switches back and forth from Davey's POV, and boy did they fuck up. Right after Jason slashes these two horny teens, he slashes those assholes who was picking on Davey. And disclaimer, this comic does show a little bit of nudity. Pretty nice nudity. We're then introduced to Sheriff Tannehill, who is just absolutely gone off his fucking rocker. This dude's mind is in outer space. He's introduced doing drugs. Although this dude really makes me laugh, and it's hard to hate him because he is a piece of shit. But God, I love his energy and I love his dialogue.
You low down meth head son of a bitch, you just down for a hit, ain't you? Is this what you want, you turd? A little devil dust? A little booger sugar? Oh yeah. You wanna get cranked up? Well, just take it. I don't really give a fiddly fuck. Just take it, you piece of shit.
He is called to Crystal Lake by his radio, and he is immediately confronted by Jason and counselors running for their life. After calling Jason a crazy meth head son of a bitch, he pulls out his piece and just starts fucking spraying. He does manage to hit Jason, but he did fuck around and hit these counselors too. David witnesses this. Jason pulls David into the woods, where Jason pursues Tannehill's deputies and makes short work of them. 3 hours later, the FBI show up and basically tell the sheriff, hey, we don't need you no more. Don't come with us. Calm down, go home, do your thing. We got plenty of guys. Fuck off, cockroach. And yeah, obviously he's trying to cover his tracks because he needs to take Davey out or his ass is grass because he witnessed Tannehill murder these fucking counselors. Issue 2 cuts to 9 days later, where Davey is having the time of his life and Jason is feeding him and watching his six. Again, now, before you're like, what the fuck, Jason would never do this, hear me out of this. This is where I think the lore comes in, and it's really smack dab in the middle where it needs to be. This is where most of the Friday the 13th lore comes in, and I think most people actually overlook this. Again, this is just my opinion. This means as much as a drop of piss in the ocean. If we look at the early days of Friday the 13th, we really get a look at Jason's complicated yet confused mind. He is able to be manipulated by Jenny in part 2, claiming to be his mother. Another example in part 4, when Tommy does a half-ass shave job to his head. And we could even go into part 6, where Jason enters the children's cabin and he just stares at that little girl and stares around just looking at the kids. And he doesn't hurt a soul. So if nothing else, this does prove that Jason has a conscience and some sort of understanding and self-thinking capability. What would have happened if Trish never saved Tommy during that moment? We may never know. This reoccurring nature is really prevalent in the early Friday films, but it dies out as the sequels go along. Now, I'm not trying to give Jason a motive. I'm just saying that this comic portrayal of what Jason is doing really doesn't stray far from the early versions of Jason. I could see Jason doing this, even though this portrays an older Jason, an undead Jason, much like Freddy vs. Jason, which I believe is kind of the model they use from here if you look at this example. So it's not too far off the spectrum. Now, back to the comic. After many failed attempts at pursuing Jason, Sheriff Tannehill hijacks a fucking helicopter. The balls on this guy.
I got big balls too.
Bitch, you ain't got shit. Fuck! Where's the logic? Aren't you trying to cover your ass? What are you doing? You're digging the hole deeper. Tannehill, what are you doing? Oh, and by the way, this is where shit gets really good. They finally find Jason and Davey in the woods using their night vision. And this crazy ass sheriff throws the fucking shooter out of the fucking helicopter. He hijacks the fucking helicopter. He tells the pilot, hey, turn back around. I gotta get a shot at this guy. And the pilot's like, you ain't seen this man in action? That single shot ain't gonna bring him down. He's like, nah, I ain't talking about him. I'm talking about that little motherfucker. So his aim right here, literally, he is aiming to take out Davey. See what I did there? During this very unnecessary ranting and raving by Tannehill, while he's having his psychotic breakdown, Jason throws the deceased gunner's head through the fucking windshield and causes the helicopter to crash. That's badass. Where's that film? Davey pleads to Jason for them to hide in caves as Tannehill emerges from the fierce flames of meth. The man, the myth, the legend. The camp now being invaded with soldiers and helicopters, Jason decides to go and give every one of them a fucking fade, even though Davey begs and pleads for him not to. We can really see how much Davey's demeanor changes here, because at first he was scared and he was being forced. Now he's willing. Now he cares about Jason. He's like a big brother. He doesn't want him to go. He doesn't want him to get hurt. He doesn't want to leave the camp. He wants to stay with Jason. He wants his fucking summer adventure to go on. And I really like this from Davey's standpoint. The Jason stuff is cool, but I really like that this is from Davey's point of view. This is Davey's story. He experienced this, you know? I feel like this could really translate into a pretty good film. Do I feel like it will go over well with the audience? On one hand, Jason shouldn't be sympathetic, which I agree with. It all goes back into the lore of Friday the 13th. Those little actions he did in the early films, just to keep you guessing. He did the same thing in this one. You don't have to go a full backstory or nothing like that. Just throw little fucking pebbles into the water and watch them fucking ripples do the work. Tannehill gets the position on Davey with a sneak attack, but Davey has a nice counter when he stabs the sheriff in the leg and then kicks him down to the depth of the hell of the cave. We finally get a showdown between Jason and the sheriff, which is not one you would expect. So the camp is now being completely invaded. There's helicopters flying around, hundreds of soldiers out there. Jason's like, fuck this, I'm killing every one of them. He goes out and he gets fucking washed by these soldiers. They lie his ass up. He falls to the ground, he's done for. But wait, there's more. You didn't shoot him in the head. The sheriff does make a comeback when he gets to jump on Davey, and his dialogue is just fucked. There's no other word about it. It's just fucked. As much as this comic wants me to hate this guy, I can't, because he just makes me fucking laugh. Jason of course saves Davey. He kind of sacrifices himself because him and the sheriff take a dive into oblivion off this huge ass cliff, which kills the sheriff and Jason. We end the comic with Davey finally telling us this was the best summer I ever fucking had. And if this was a movie, yes, there would be a post-credit scene. Yeah, Jason survives. I feel like the writers really captured that early 80s Friday essence that the later sequels had missed. But the one thing I love about the 2009 remake is how they made him a survivalist. I know this doesn't make any sense, but to me, having that Jason there with human instinct and him being humanized, that's a lot more terrifying to me than just this fucking zombie undead Jason. Now don't get me wrong, throughout the films, I love Kane Hodder's portrayal. He just got stuck with some shitty ass fucking movies. Now in the earlier movies, was Jason all that good? In some, yeah. But the movie's great. Yeah, most of them were. So it kind of flip-flopped. But I really feel like this comic combined the two. We got the undead Jason, we got the essence of the early sequels, and it really combined it together. You throw that together with Davey's POV, like this child's adventure, what he's going through, how he hates his life, how he can relate to Jason. You know, because that poses the question of, what is Jason's motive? And I'm not saying Jason needs a motive. You don't have to go with a backstory. You don't have to go full-fledged on telling why he does this. But it just leaves an open-ended question of, okay, is he doing this out of sympathy for Davey? What's his goal with Davey? He doesn't want to kill Davey, so why is he doing this? So does he have compassion? Does he have that mental capacity to care about somebody? Does he have goals? What the fuck's going on? I feel like these questions don't need to be answered, but they need to be prompted. Give the audience something to hold on to. The more the Friday franchise goes on, you can't just have Jason and a whole bunch of teens fucking in the woods getting killed. Yes, I will watch that all day, every day. But you need something to drive the audience forward. You know, you need a good story. I felt like this comic did that. I am always down for a good bully story. I really enjoyed this, you know. I go and read these comics, and some of them land, some of them don't. To me, this really landed, really just because of Davey. And it just made me wonder why Jason would do this. He brought me back. It really reminded me of the early versions of Jason. You throw Davey's story in that, dude, I'm sold. The whole point of this video was not only for me to show you guys this comic, because it left me interested. It left me curious. These are just simple rules that apply to any kind of media. Film, comics, books, all the above. So thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna end this right here. Spoiler alert, I do have about 4 or 5 comics I have reviewed from other franchises that's already in the vault. They're already edited, they're already out. There is backup videos, but sooner or later, I kind of want to make this a separate playlist, like a whole series. If you guys have one and want me to review, drop it down below. Fucking love you guys. I really appreciate you taking some time to spend with me throughout your day. I'm sure you got better shit to do, but you're right here with me, kicking it with me, and I am really grateful for that. So I love you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Adios.